Okay.
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Now without the nod.
This is my story.
This is my story.
Yay.
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story.
This is my story. Hello, my name is Rick Hedden, and I attend the third service generally, sometimes the second, but I play with the praise band, so that is generally where you would see me. Well, actually, my brother had been coming to ACC for probably 6 or 7 years before. My wife and I were both Christians. However, it was tough to find a church home. It just seemed like, we'd go somewhere and it just seemed like either they didn't talk about Jesus much or just something never felt comfortable. And then you kind of slide away from looking. And my brother would constantly tell me, hey, you need to try ACC sometimes. I mean, he said, Pastor Steve he's the guy. And so ultimately, this is where we decided to try, and we fell in love pretty quickly. And nothing else is more important than being here. I find that you can carry God with you everywhere. You can have him right here in your mind, in your heart, and you've always got that. But there's something about, it's weird because you kind of forgot when I didn't come to church for a while. I carried Jesus with me everywhere. It wasn't like I was worried about my salvation, or nothing. But when you're here, you're fellowshipping with other Christians. And I really think that truly does keep me grounded. And I just look forward to it. As soon as I leave here Sunday, I'm looking forward to coming back, so. Well, I'm blessed to have my mom and dad with me. They also attend church here now, and we're thrilled about that. My brother, of course, and my wife's an angel. If anybody here knows her, has got to know her yet, they realize that pretty quick. So our whole family attends, and that means an awful lot. It really does. And if you'd have asked me 10, 12 years ago, would we all be attending church in the same spot? I might not have known, or I might have said, I don't know about that one for whatever reason, but God, he's got a funny way of bringing people together and keeping those who he wants to keep. And here we are, and none of us could be happier. We're all thrilled about it. Well, I did 25 years in prison as a correctional officer. Like I say, my mom and dad always knew I'd wind up behind bars one way or another, and it was a blessing. I kind of fell into it, and it was one of those things where as I went, the retirement system got a little better to keep people working in a prison, and I was able to put 25 years in and retire there as a sergeant, and it was a good career for me. Well, I really like restoring old cars, painting them. I especially, of course, love music, all kinds of music. I like everything from rock and roll to bluegrass gospel is one of my favorites. I love to hunt white-tailed deer. I love to hunt Canadian geese. So I think those are probably three of my passions, and they're definitely full-time passions. I thought about this. The only thing I can think of is Grape Ape on roller skates, probably. I mean, there's a lot of people may not even know who Grape Ape was. He was a cartoon back in the 70s, but yeah, I'm probably not the most agile on my feet. I don't know that I have a favorite, but I really enjoy history, American history, both, colonial and Native American history. I think it's fascinating. So that would probably be the up my alley for books and movies. I think I'd probably like to be an eagle. I think they're majestic. I love the way they fly and soar, and I think that they're protected so they wouldn't have guys like me shooting at them. So I think it'd probably be a good choice. I would hope it'd be a good guy action movie, and I don't know, maybe Tommy Lee Jones. I think if I could go anywhere in the world, it would still be somewhere, believe it or not, here in Illinois. I love some of the small towns. You know, I like, especially in southern Illinois. I like the woods. I like the beauty. Um, I'm really in love with this part of the country because I like the outdoors, and there's not a lot of things that sting and bite or poisonous, and it's just nice around here. I don't have a problem with Illinois at all, and I'm not real a big fan of traveling abroad, so I definitely know that it would be probably I'm opinionated, and I probably interject my opinion before it's asked. And it took me quite a few years to realize that I'm not always right, but I may be wrong about that too. You know, my dream job probably would have been when I was younger, and I went to a year of college, and I realized then I was way too smart for that school. But I played baseball, and I just quit going. And I played a lot of baseball as a kid, and I would have loved to have been, you know, a pro baseball player. But after that, you know, when you start working, I went through my 25 years with the Department of Corrections and retired still not knowing what I'd really like to do if it wasn't a baseball player. You know what? I'm still a Cub fan at heart. I love the Cardinals, but I think one of the best times in my life growing up was with my great grandmother. We just lived there through the summer because she just loved us kids, and she was a Cub fan. And right next door was my grandmother and grandfather, my great grandmother's son, and he was a big Cardinal fan. Well, they just great grandma hadn't always had the Cubs on, and she just loved the Cubs, so I kind of gravitated towards the Cubs. This may sound like a funny one to some people, but Decatur used to have a Christian television station, and I think it was WCFL or something like that. And they always had an old Marine on there named Pastor Arnold Murray with Shepherd's Chapel. They were out of Gravette, Arkansas, and he was just a great Bible scholar. I watched him every morning. He was on at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I'd watch him before I got ready for work. But he taught me how to study in depth, how to use good Strong's Concordance, and even a set of Green's Interlinearies, which is the manuscripts and the languages. And he was a fascinating Bible scholar, and it really just teaches you how to study for yourself. And I think it would be with him. I thought he was a fascinating person. My routine with the Bible varies, but it's every day. You know, I try to wake up every day and thank the Lord for the breath He gives me, and try to get through the day safely. And you know, it's funny because even today, you know, I might start praying, and I try to be so eloquent and so, I didn't even know the word I'm looking for, Christian. And all I realize is I can talk to God just like I'm talking to you. I don't need to do anything but just tell Him good morning, tell Him I love Him. Thanks for giving me another day. You know, I tell my wife all the time, I experienced the miracle of life today. What's that? I woke up. You know, and I don't have to be so pious. And that's what I tell people when I talk to them too. I said, gosh, when you talk to them, just tell them what the desires of your heart are to get yourself wherever you need to be. If you need a job, tell them, Lord, I need a job. I've learned that more than anything is just, you know, stop being pretentious about prayer, because I don't speak well. I'm not very eloquent, you know, so my prayer life is very to the point. And then throughout the day, I know this now, and it's getting stronger and stronger over the years. Probably since the early 90s, when I decided that I definitely wanted to delve into this and show God that I am approved, and I'll be a good son to you. And I find that He's not very far from my mind, and I think about Jesus all the time. And I think that alone is prayer. He searches the innermost thoughts of my mind. He knows what I'm needing. He knows what I want. And so I think being mindful of Him is also a way to be better in life. We're never going to be perfect. We're always going to sin. We're always going to fail. But when you're mindful of Jesus, it's harder to fall so quickly. I don't know how many times I'm Lord, thank you for forgiving me today. Thank you for loving me. I'm so thankful for my salvation. I walk around out the door and do something stupid, and say something dumb or sin, whatever it is, and then have to turn right around and say, "Oh, that was quick," here I am, Lord. I'm sorry again. Can we start over? And but I find He's very quick to forgive. He already knows that we're never going to be perfect. I fail at it a little bit, but I try to be mindful that, hey, I can, if I'm really out there with jokes or a dirty mind or this or that, that's not a good witness. So I try to be mindful of all of that and be as good a witness as I can. And that tends to go better as well, I think, There wasn't a person that did. I can say that I did learn who Jesus was, and I learned more about it. And sometimes growing up, never pursued it much, never became that, oh my God, I've had this epiphany, and now I'm this Christian that is just devoted to God. It was always one of those things where I'd promise God, Jesus, if you just do this for me, I'll promise I'll be better. And I actually would get better. I got better as I went, but it wasn't that type of relationship. But I always knew that Jesus was our God and our Lord and Savior. Through my whole life, I've already been a believer. I just wasn't a truster. And He starts peeling those layers off of you that you just don't need anymore. And I always had that relationship with Him. But again, I never really just said, you know what, I'm just going to devote everything and I'm just going to be that guy that will always be on your side. I would resist a little bit. I can run this section of my life. I've got this, I'm good. And I know that it just never works that way. It just doesn't. And so I'd be back and forth with God. And I don't know when it really hit me. I want to say it was in the 90s. My best friend in the whole world, believe it or not, was a German Shepherd. And I'd had her for 13 years. And I remember she got sick. And we didn't know what was wrong with her. And they said they couldn't do nothing for her. We took her to U of I. And I remember coming home from work at night praying, Lord, if you'll just, again, one of many times, if you'll just let me keep this dog a little while longer, I promise you I'll be a lot better Christian. I'll bring my whole house to you, Lord. And by golly, that dog got better. And I had her for another 3 years. And we did. We started going to church. It was sometime around that period of time. So it's been since the 90s, like actually even 1990 or there a little bit afterwards, we actually started following the Lord, going to church and making a habit out of it and trying to be that servant. And that dog, though, is the one that pushed me over the edge. And just I thought, man, he let me keep her for 3 more years. That sounds sappy, doesn't it? That's weird, though. I really never was led by another person. If I was led by anything, it was by that dumb dog that I loved so much. My brother was probably my inspiration. He was playing when he was just young, and I was in sports, but I was always fascinated with playing music. And once I got a little older, and I had another friend that played bass guitar, he got me going on it, and I never looked back. I just kept playing and playing, and I enjoyed it, and it's been he's my inspiration for music, though, for sure. Because I know Paul said everything's lawful for us, but not all things are helpful. And you know what? No matter whether it's Christian or whether it's secular, that edgy stuff, if you really think about it and you really listen to it and you know what? Sometimes it stirs the soul up a little bit. Sometimes it's a little aggravating. And I recognize that, or at least I try to be open to it, and I know that it's not, always good. Because music is spiritual. I know a lot of people would think that's odd to say, but I believe it is. I think it touches souls, and it can touch souls in great ways. It can touch souls in bad ways. I believe that, And a message can touch a soul in good ways, and we also know a message can touch a soul in bad ways too. So. I think the current one that I've just written, I really like. I like the melody of it, but most of the time I write it about myself and my struggle and my walk, and it's really about how tiring it is sometimes to try to do those things that are pleasing to God. And you can't live up to it, and you turn around and you promise him everything in the world. Lord, if you just give me, lead me through this trouble here, I promise I'll be a better man. And then sometimes you're better. He improves you in this part of your life, but it's just with God, with me, he's just constantly through my whole life shown me mercy and patience. I've just never seen him leave me or let me down, and I just let him down all the time, constantly, and beg him, to not leave me. I know I've crossed a line or two. I've been all broken, almost every rule. Flesh, bone, and my mind war against me and you. And all I ever want to be is more like you, yeah. And if I want to gain it all, I better give it all away. Jesus, I surrender all. Love me and catch me when I fall. And I remember that I'm not of this world. Oh Jesus, I surrender all. I surrender all. So many times I've said I love you. Turn around, push you away. So many times you've shown me mercy. Patient, loving, time and time again, yeah. And if I want to gain it all, I better give it all away. Jesus, I surrender all. And love me, catch me when I fall. And I remember that I'm not of this world. Oh Jesus, Like that. It's called Nails and Thorns. You would think it'd be called I Surrender All. I try to think it's not about me. I can surrender, but it's not about me. Without the blood, without that, it's nothing. So it's always, I always try to make it about Jesus. If he did, I didn't recognize it, and because I think he uses everybody walking on this planet, unwillingly or willingly, he uses. And I like to think of the story of Pharaoh, when Moses told Pharaoh to let his people go. You know, Pharaoh said every time, take them, get them out of here. And then it always says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and it wasn't Pharaoh that hardened his heart, God did. So God used Pharaoh, I believe, to show his people how powerful he was. And that's why I say, you know, God will have mercy on who he will. We got to be careful about saying, oh, Pharaoh, he's probably burning away, you know, because nobody's been judged yet. And if God used Pharaoh for that, for whatever reason, you know, would God hold that against him later on? I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna know that right now, but I do think God uses who he will, and sometimes we don't know. Like I said, I don't understand that. It's a mystery of God, you know, and it's fascinating though, but I don't understand it. You know, I look back and I think when I was a young man, and my brother and I were both playing in rock and roll bands around here, and a lot, 5-6 nights a week, and you know, we both saw everybody around us, you know, attracted to the things that we were not. Like the drug use was all around us, but neither one of us we weren't interested in that. And the only thing I can think is God put that shelter around me. You obviously put it around my brother too, because we watched everybody around us, almost everybody, fall completely apart. And I think God closed that door for us for whatever reason. He had a better purpose for us, or maybe knew it would just destroy us. I mean, because it's destroyed so many other people. I don't understand that either. But that door sure was shut to us. Neither one of us wanted anything to do with it. I don't know if that's a door or not. When I had that COVID, man, even the doctors say, hey, we're not sure. You know, we could have a guy laying there, a clone of you laying next to you, and in a week, one of you's going home and one of you ain't. And so my prayer to the Lord was, Lord, I just don't want to leave my wife yet. I don't want to leave her alone. It's a crazy world right now, and I want to be here with her. And then my wife's praying on the other side, Lord, I don't want to lose my husband. I want to please let him come home to me. And I'm thinking, you know, the Lord's probably thinking to me, sorry, but well, I heard your prayer though, so I'm gonna, because my wife's an angel. My brother told me that the church was praying for me, and I know that for the whole time I was up there, you know, for 10 days, you know, I didn't get to see my wife, who was homesick with COVID. My mom was sick with COVID. We all brought it back from Florida with us. But the whole time I was up there, I was with strangers who were very nice and very good to me, but I still was without people that loved me. But this church was praying for me. My churches down in Florida, where my aunt and uncle were praying for me. Churches in Tennessee, where people we know were praying for me. The amazing thing about that, it's probably the first time in my life I've ever felt that the Lord was right in there with me, because I never felt alone. It was an amazing feeling. You know, I missed my wife, but I never once felt alone. And I do feel like it is the power of prayer, and God responds to that in ways that we don't understand. But it's, you know, sometimes that's really the first time I can honestly say that I felt his presence. I don't care whether it's in a bar or whether it's in Walmart, or it could be in your doctor's office. You walk by people all the time. You smile and say hi, and they smile and say hi, but you never really know what they're going through, where they're at in life. Are they Christian? Are they not? You know. But he told me one time, he goes, There's so many people out there that have never, ever been approached and asked if you can pray for them, if you can do, is there anything I can help you with and pray with you about? And it is astonishing. And I've tried it, and it's true. It wasn't that long ago. I was in a bar here in town, and I knew a guy at the bar, and I walked up to him and talked to him. I knew him and his brother when we were younger, and he was going through a hard time. He just lost his 18-year-old son to suicide, and he was just really struggling. And I said, man, can I pray with you? We're right there at the corner of the bar, and we're on break, so I prayed with him right there. And he told me that nobody had ever prayed for him before. And I've invited him to church. I still believe that he's going to come to church. I talk to him every now and then, text him every day, hey, you want to come this Sunday? I'll come get you, But I think there's this countless out there. I wish I did that more. I think for me, when I felt that, when I was in the hospital, and really, not sure whether I was gonna go home or not. I was even more unsure when my brother, because his symptoms were way worse than mine. But when I felt the most vulnerable in my mortality, that's really the first time where I can say I sensed the presence of God, because I needed him at that point, because I was so lonely for my family and my wife, and I think without that, in that position, without God, it would have been unbearable. It just truly would have been. But that is really the first time in my life that I literally felt the presence of God there, reassuring me that everything's going to be all right. One way or another, you're good. And I was able to relax a little bit, because I'm just moving around. It's almost anxiety ridden. And I'm never one that has had anxiety, but I believe that he brings peace to you if you allow him to. And I think at that point, maybe for the first time in my life, I was vulnerable enough to allow him to be there and give me that. Because it's just like the gift of salvation. You got to accept it, Otherwise, he's standing there holding it for you, and you just say, oh, I see a box, or I see a gift. I don't know what. I don't care where you are on this planet. I don't care what country you're from. I don't care where you're at in the sub-Sahara desert. He can knock on your heart, and it's just whether or not you respond to it. But it's a spiritual enough thing when that happens that and you can either choose to ignore it or you can choose to pursue it. And it's a fascinating enough feeling that I think even when I was a little boy, I remembered that. And it was a fascinating enough experience that I pursued it. Well, to be quite honest, I believe the only reason that we're actually here is to reach other people. And we're blessed to have had some really cool experiences sharing Jesus with people in these bars and playing our songs that we wrote and share them with people, and have them come up and tell you that touched them in ways that we can't know. We got to let them know again that the Lord loves us just like we are. I don't care if he's a guy laying in the gutter with a needle hanging out of his arm. Hey, you don't have to do nothing. He loves you right now, and let him take that. And if we can help him from there, obviously he needs help right then and there. We can take him somewhere. But all these people, anywhere between here and in the gutter, you've got to be able to let them accept the gift unconditionally, because that's the way God loves us. Again, he'll just, even though my story is vanilla, he still is peeling away the layer. He's still doing it. I'm never going to be perfect, but he's still peeling away those areas of my life that I need improvement on. And as long as I'm saying, asking him to do it, he'll do that. The same with these people. Let him accept the love first, and to say, hey, he loves you, let him know how much you love him back, because it's at that point that God changes them. we can't change them. I'm a firm believer I can't change anybody. This is probably the first time in my life that I'm very comfortable in my Christian skin, and this place has a lot to do with it. This pastor, this family, you know, I don't know everybody yet. Working on it. I'm trying to expand a little bit, but I'm very comfortable in my Christian skin at this point, and I think everybody can be if, again, we learn how to trust to go along with the faith, because I think they're so hand in hand, and one without the other doesn't work very well. And so that would be what I would say.
It's a wrap.